Hi, this is Dr. Ben Morrill. Welcome to episode 138 of Reptile Genetics Weekly. Got a cool topic for you all, something that several of us have been working on for a few weeks, probably a couple of months by this point. Very, very happy to have an online conversation and questions and thoughts turn into something that we can collect data for and have I think a pretty convincing answer for. So look forward to sharing that with you all and have some guests on today to talk about that. And the question we get a lot is, hey, this first shed, can I use that for testing? Can I send that in for a genetic test, or does that not work? And I know some people have been concerned about that. And so yeah, we're gonna tell you all about that today. But as far as samples this week, things look like they're going pretty well. I know some of the shipping and some of the things are slowing down because we're in the middle of the busy season. So don't be surprised if it takes an extra day or two for your sheds to get to us. So there may be some things, some of the components we're ordering to do the various types of testing are taking longer this time of the year already. We were already having a few days or even like a week delay and when things are getting shipped to us. I just got another notification this morning saying something wasn't going to come on the day they said it was going to. So anyway, other than shipping being a little slower, once it's getting to us, we should have results going out every day this week for fast tests. And we've got sex determination going out a couple of times. Everything looks good. And I should be able to start working on panels again late this week. So probably early to mid next week is when we'll have panel results. But yeah, that's all I've got. Kayla, how are you doing?
Hey, Ben, I'm doing good. Much better than your poor pup, who is very upset in the background right now.
He does not want to be left out of this, does he?
Poor Vincent. Sweet man.
All the kids are going to be home in like half an hour, and so he's not excited about being by himself for a little bit.
Oh, poor buddy. It's okay, Vincent. What a man. Yeah, but that's okay. I'm excited for this episode because I've always wondered this myself. Like the hatch shed. I've used those for I've used them on rat snakes for sex determination, but I know with more sensitive tests in some mutations that we test for with ball pythons, they're less, or rather those are more sensitive, or I don't know, you've talked about different sensitivities with different tests. So this is exciting, and I'm really, really excited about our guests who put in the work to figure this out. So,
literally double time, picking sheds out twice.
Yes, exactly. So that's exciting. But we'll knock out some business stuff real quick. Speaking of testing, of course, we do have our multi-panel where we've got now 50 tests, all for the same price of $139. So you can find out what on earth your snake has in it. You can also get a 15% discount on Clutch and Morph Market if you order through them. It doesn't get added until the end for Morph Market, but it is added automatically at checkout. And on the Rare Genetics website itself, we do have the all recessives panel. So, if you don't want to spring for the full multi-panel, you can at least get all of your recessives on there. And when we come out with more recessives, they're automatically added on. But yeah, let's get to our guests today. Bringing on Herbert Vanilla and Kenny Trotter of HB Reptiles and Bomb City Balls, respectively. What's up, guys? Also, Kenny. Oh my gosh, I'm here when you're here.
First time.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me again.
Of course. And Herbert, this is your first time on here, right?
It is.
Exciting.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we'll start with Kenny. So what? Who is Kenny? Who is Bomb City Balls?
Yeah, I've talked about kind of what I work with, what I do on here before. I'm based in Amarillo, Texas. That's where the name Bomb City Balls came from. Here in Amarillo, we is where all the nuclear weapons for the military is assembled and disassembled. And that's where my wife retired from. She was a software developer out there for a long time.
Oh, cool.
Well, not a real long time. She's in her early 40s, but she worked out there since she got out of college, and she retired within the last few years. So, anyways, that's where the name comes from. We're known as either Bomb City or the Rotor City because we also produce a lot of helicopters for the military. We're heavily military oil and farming and ranching out here. So, but this is where the Osprey. So it's common to see those Ospreys, the tilt rotor aircraft, just flying over town all the time. So not something a lot of the country gets to see very often, and is pretty commonplace here. So it's pretty cool.
Interesting. Okay.
But
So
yeah, I see you scrolling through some of my stuff. My projects
Yes.
basically revolve around ultramel
Yeah.
and sunset as a color pattern, or color palette.
Yeah.
And then just working everything else in. I have a pretty large collection, so I have everything from puzzle and monsoon and clown, hypo, DG. Just pretty much, if it's out there, I have just about everything. And just kind of taking those projects and slowly merging them together.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I'm able to do a lot of the testing and stuff for Ben is because I do test a lot of sheds. I think I have around 300 paid sheds this season. I think I had almost that many last year as well. So I'm saving a lot of sheds, and even stuff I'm not testing, I save a shed for everything that hatches here. So I have a lot of stuff that's just on file that if I need to pull it for some reason, I can. So
yeah, there you go. You're also helping us pay for new tests in the future. So thank you. You're amazing. Yeah, the support is fantastic. And also we can help you with your genetics, which when you have a massive collection like that, that's huge.
Well, I'll add kind of how we got onto this topic. So Herbert and I, and Ben as well, we're all in Bob and Josh's Patreon, and we spend a lot of time in Discord. A lot of people spend a lot of time in that Discord, sharing ideas and that sort of thing. And I don't remember exactly what the topic was that day, but somebody was asking for advice, and I said basically what I do is I separate my babies as soon as they hatch. I don't wait for them to do their first shed in the incubator or pull them out of the incubator and put them in a tub all together and let them shed out their first shed. I go ahead and separate them all. That way, that first shed, I can go ahead and send it in, get it tested. And Herbert asked me, he said, man, doesn't that concern you at all about maybe cross-contamination from the other babies with them all rubbing all over each other and that sort of thing? Yeah. And my response was not at all. I have zero concern about that. Then Ben chimed in and said, well, it's possible. It is possible that there could be some contamination from that. And it worried me a little bit because I was like, oh, I hope I didn't sell anything that I tested and it was inaccurate, or even held something back that was inaccurate. Yeah. So I just suggested, hey, this will make a great project that we can do in an episode for RGI. So Ben and I started talking about it, kind of what we could do. And so basically, like I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of sheds on file for stuff I'm not even planning on testing, which a lot of that is triple pos head or quadruple pos head males that are basically just normals and then a bunch of pos heads. I already had first sheds on file, so the ones that hadn't sold, it was pretty quick and easy for me to just collect their next shed. In some cases, it was their second shed. In some cases, it was their third shed. So just basically shed that happened after they had definitely been separated from their clutch mates.
Yeah.
And I think I put together around, 200 sheds. So for 100 animals, because we had to test each one of them, had to test first shed and second shed. So put together around a couple hundred sheds that I was able to send to Ben to test first sheds and test the next shed and then compare them and see if they did test the same or if they did test different, and in which case there might have been some kind of cross-contamination.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of how it came up. And then I know Herbert, he donated some sheds as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and just to kind of shoot in there. Oh, now you got an animal joining the show.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
this is my shark-nosed cat. Probably can't see it in the video, but just like ball pythons get shark nose, he actually has a small lower jaw.
Oh my god, that's adorable. What's his name?
His name is Smudge.
Smudge.
Right on.
Yeah, he came with that name. He was a barn cat, and when he came into my wife's vet clinic, he was just covered in mud. So they just kind of nicknamed him Smudge, and it stuck. So
that's adorable.
Shark-nosed kitten.
Oh, I love him.
So, yeah.
I love Smudge.
when that conversation was on the Discord, so we did, the only thing that we do have data for where there was clear, and it was extensive testing that we did, multiple sheds over multiple different time points and stuff, in garter snakes. People much more frequently keep them in groups, and we were able to see that for sex determination, if you are keeping garter snakes, which are kind of on the wetter side, and I don't know all the reasons, but I do know that we did see cross contamination. So if they kept the garter snakes together and sent in the sheds for sex determination, they would all be female, because that's the unique in garter snakes, the sex chromosomes are ZW. And so both females and males have the male band or the male sex chromosome, which is the Z, but the W is only in females. And
That's so interesting.
So everything would come out as being female in the test. And then once the customer, she's like, you keep telling me all of these are female. They can't all be female. And we're like, well, separate them, give it a month, and then send us another shed. And when she did that, then we could see some were males and some were females. So that was why when this conversation was going, I'm like, actually, it is worth thinking about it a little bit more. I hadn't seen any results, and still to this day, I have not seen any results or problems at all from ball pythons. But it definitely was something worth thinking about some more. And so, Herbert, we'll let you jump in and kind of talk about your projects, and then your side of that conversation as well.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. So I'm up in the bitter cold tundra of New York. It is very cold up here right now, and only going to get colder as the week goes on.
Yes.
But my ball python projects mostly revolve around Ultramel and a lot of Ultramel clown stuff. But just like Kenny, I dabble in a little bit of everything as well. I've got DG, Xanthic, Sunset, Cryptic, Puzzle, Hypo, a little bit of everything. But probably 50% of my collection is visual Ultramels and het Ultramels and clown mixed in with most of it.
Oh, I was just going to say, these photos that you sent of like some of your adult animals are just stunning. Like, these guys are so clean. I love them. They're so pretty.
So these two adults, these are the ones that I had the babies tested for this experiment. So that dad, he's a black pastel spot nose, red striped clown het Ultramel. I bought him from Justin back in 22, I think it was. And he was actually 66% het Ultramel. And he was one of the first shed tests that I actually had you guys do. And I got his results back just a couple days before Christmas that he was het Ultramel. So that was a really good Christmas present, because he was a very expensive animal. So him proving that het Ultramel was a huge win.
For sure.
And then this female, that one, I got her from Jaffe, from Jaffe's Exotics. And I am just trying to utilize shed testing to its max, really, and just taking that gamble that you're going to hit something, that's het that maybe shouldn't be genetically, like obviously the female's not het Ultramel. So I wanted to put that male to her and then just use that gambling to see if I could actually hit some het Ultramel animals in that clutch. And I did. I hit a handful.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, with the odds being that low and you're just pairing a het to an animal that doesn't have it, before that, you could try, but you'd have to like produce a lot of stuff you don't want before you actually hit what you want. But with genetic testing, we can. We can,
especially in this clutch too, because there was 11 babies, and I think I only hit 2 or 3 males in this clutch. So in the old days, 3-4 years ago, you would have held back most of those females because you would have hoped that they would have proved het Ultramel. And realistically, I think we only got like 5 of those females that came back as het, and then two of the males So I would have held back a lot of that wouldn't have ended up proving.
Man.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
takes a lot of time.
Oh yeah. So like Kenny was saying, before we did this experiment, he already had the in place where he would separate babies right out of the egg. Can you talk a little bit about what you were doing as far as when you were separating and collecting sheds, and then how this conversation, kind of, it may change how you're doing things?
Yes. So I always collect the second shed. When shed testing first became a thing, I remember a lot of people talking about, like, you should never collect first sheds because of the cross contamination issue. And I never really heard anybody talk about it on the other side. Like, it's completely fine to collect first sheds, and we've never had any issues doing it. So I just always collected second sheds. And then just to be safe, because I would rather, if there's an issue, that I can't come back and be like, well, I collected the first shed, and because of that, there was cross contamination, and either my holdbacks are not het for whatever, or I sold all of these snakes to people and now I've got to reimburse them money. So I would have rather just erred on the side of caution. So then once Kenny brought that up, I'm like, like, that's concerning to me. Is that concerning to you? And then obviously, what Kenny said, we got in the works with Ben and started to figure some of this stuff out. And so now that we've gotten our results back, I don't think this was actually already mentioned, but spoiler. So all of our results came back 100% good. We'll get into some of the details probably later. So now I'm going to do things differently, and I'm going to collect first sheds because, well, there's no reason not to. It's way more efficient as a breeder. Instead of feeding this animal 10 meals to get it to shed its second time and then being able to list it for what it is, now we can do this much sooner. It's way more efficient.
So exactly. It probably would save you about a month of time, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And then obviously extra food and cage space and all that.
Yes.
So let's look at the proof. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, and as a buyer, I would rather get the baby after it's only had 5 meals instead of 10 or 15 or however many it gets, because as a baby, it's foolproof. They're going to eat no matter what. The bigger they get, the harder it is to transition them if they're on a different substrate, different setup, different food source, whatever. So I think it's also beneficial to go ahead and get it into the hands of the end user as well. And one thing, just kind of touch a little bit on what Herbert just said, as far as what his process was before and what his process is now. I think it's important to say that whenever I collect first sheds, I separate the babies straight out of the egg. So they typically spend 5 to 7 days apart before they shed. Herbert said on his clutches, he separated them after 3 days after they hatched. So they probably spent another 3 days or so separate. And I'll let you get into the results. But I think that we do need to make sure that people understand that if you're waiting until all of them look like they're about to shed, or, they typically shed in 7 days and you're separating them day 6, you may not get the same results that we got, but based on our protocols and how we did it. And I don't miss a clutch. Every clutch gets separated the day the last snake comes out of the egg. So mine are 100%, all of mine tested. We're using that process.
Yeah.
And for you, Herbert, were you waiting 3 days after they hatched out, or were you kind of waiting till they go into blue? Or
so anything that I'm actively testing, I'll do the same thing as Kenny. I'll take them out as soon as they all come out of the egg. The 3 days for this one was solely for testing purposes, just for the experiment. I wanted to push it to the very end and then see if they tested the same.
Okay.
But that wouldn't be a regular practice now.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I think I'll just reiterate what we're just saying right there. So this testing did not include, you see the baby in with all of its siblings and it's starting to shed, and so you pull it out and separate it and take that shed off. We're not testing that. We're not testing the day before they shed or even 2 days before they shed. The only data we have is 3 days prior to the shed to about a week before. And so anything less than that, if you're waiting till they're already kind of going blue and all that stuff, we don't have any data on that. It might still be okay, or it might be like the garter snakes where it can be a problem. So that's another thing that, maybe we can do some more testing on. But yeah, very, very good point, Kenny. Make sure people understand that. So if you are separating them right after they have all hatched, that should for sure keep you safe. So we have results on over 100 different tests. So and we did them twice. So it's over 200 tests. I think it was 106 different tests that we ran twice.
Yeah.
And all of them did match. And then we're doing them for multiple types of tests. So here you've got some clowns. And as Kayla scrolls down, we've got desert ghost. We've got a whole bunch of desert ghosts, some hypo, some monsoon, orange dream, some pieds. We got some puzzles, a bunch of sunsets. Kenny's got lots of sunsets in the triples and quads and things like that. And then these ultramels down at the bottom. So these ones, so this is 11 different animals that were all run for ultramel. Mm-hmm. And that was, like Herbert was just saying, that's only 3 days prior to shed, and they all match perfectly. So nice. That's the data that we have. Several different tests and done 3 to 7 days before the first shed, and they all match.
Okay. Just in case, because I mentioned how some tests are a little more sensitive than others. Are any of these tests particularly sensitive, or, more bulletproof? Or is it less sensitive and more likely to fail? Like, what, from your perspective, Ben, like, are any of these the problem children? If you're going to have a problem with a run,
there's enough different ones here. We kind of run the gamut of, like, being really, really sensitive or not as sensitive.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say that this is a good enough sampling. I don't feel like we need to also run cryptic, and we need to also run, the other 40 or whatever others that we have. Some of these are really, really sensitive. Some of them are less. And at the end of the day, like, you as a purchaser, it's probably never going to affect you. It's just on our end, we know which tests we have to do more reruns on. Maybe somebody's running for clown and hypo. They'll get a result for clown, but they won't for hypo. And that's just because the hypo test, we have to have a little more DNA there for it to work properly. So if it's right on the edge, we might get a clown result, but give you a rerun for hypo. And so there's a few tests like that just don't work as well. But something like clown, if there was a little bit of, if there was a clutch mate that was negative and the one we're testing is het, if that DNA was there, that could, clown is more sensitive. So it would be more likely we would get a weird result or an incorrect result, but we didn't. Those clowns all, and, sunset as well. Sunset's a very sensitive one. And we had a whole bunch of sunset tests that we did. So I would say this pretty well covers the gamut of least sensitive to most sensitive.
Good stuff. What are ways that someone could further test, like push the envelope for this experiment? What are ways that they could figure out how bulletproof the first shed is?
So really all that's left would be testing 2 days before they shed, 1 day before they shed, or the same day. That is as far as separating them from their siblings. So to me, I would just, and it sounds like both Kenny and Herbert are doing the same thing. For me, I would do the exact opposite. I would say, okay, how can I maximize my chances that I'm never going to have a problem? And so if you separate them right after they hatch, you're good to go. If you feel like in your case, obviously everybody's environment's a little different. Maybe you feel like leaving them together in the incubator until they all hatch out. Jay's up and walking.
He is. He's back from PT.
So yeah, if you feel like that's important, then obviously you're gonna have to wait for a second shed, unless you can, let them be in there till like 3 days before they shed, and then separate them. Then maybe you could kind of do both, have some of that benefit you feel like you're getting from leaving them in the incubator after they hatch, but only leaving them in there for 2 or 3 days, and then separating them. it seems like from what we saw from Herbert's, you would still be safe there. But
Yeah.
if you wanted to test it more, you could let us know, hey, I'm sending this and this, and I want to know if I can pull them the day before and still be okay. We could test that too. But like I said, I think it's better to do what both Kenny and Herbert suggested, just go the opposite and try to be as safe as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, and real quick, because I know what everybody that's watching this, or a lot of them are thinking right now, is because when you say I would go even earlier and test immediately after they hatch, or not test, but separate as soon as they come out of the egg. I know a lot of people believe that the reason you leave them in the incubator or you leave them together is that they'll do better once they are separated as far as eating, just thriving in general. So this is the second year that I've separated straight out of the egg. So that's probably, say, 45 clutches so far this year, 30, so around 75 clutches that I've done that way, and there's been no difference in whether or not they eat well. Like I said earlier, babies are pretty foolproof. They're gonna eat. It's just the way it is. This year I've only had a handful that wouldn't eat. One of them was a Partho clutch, and then I had a couple twins that wouldn't eat, that I had to assist feed. But as far as just my regular babies, I've noticed no difference. And I offer food on feeding day right after their first shed. So whether that's if Monday falls the first day after they shed, or even sometimes the same day they shed, or it's a full week away, I offer them, and occasionally they won't take that first one if they just shed in the last day or two, but then they take the next one. And I've seen very little, very few that have done that. So for the most part, they eat right on cue, just like they did when I separated them after their first sheds prior to last year.
Okay. Good stuff. And I mean, that's you have a good sample size to have tested that yourself. So that's awesome. I know in colubrid land where I normally play, people will keep their colubrids. They'll even keep their babies together, like when offering the first meals, and they seem to have luck. So I'm wondering if maybe that trickled into the ball python world, or if it's something that somebody or maybe it's assumptions being made from that observation in colubrids and then being applied to ball pythons.
So I've done that some with hognose and king snakes, just dangling the little pinky down in there, whichever one of them grabs it, pull them out, put them in a tub, and they feel like there's that competition for it, I think. But then again, they rarely struggle, especially king snakes. They're going to eat no matter what. They'll eat my fingers if I stick them in there. So, but the hognose, just dropping them pinkies in there, and then as they grab them, just pulling them out. I've done that some with them.
That's a good idea.
But I don't know if it makes any difference or not. But.
Fair enough. Okay, but at least in ball pythons, you didn't really see any difference, regardless.
No difference.
So,
none.
Cool beans. All right.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments if you've had different results, or everyone's setup and environment's a little different. It's very possible, but what would be helpful, kind of like what Herbert and Kenny have done here to help us with this experiment, is if you can show us like actual numbers. Be like, hey, I had 70 babies this year, and this is the percent that took the first meal or two or whatever, and here's the next year. Like if you have actual hard numbers, that helps a lot. Then we can say, okay, that was, one clutch versus one clutch. It might matter, it might not. But if you've got, 100 babies one year, 100 babies the next year, and you've got data on that and you see a significant difference, that would be really interesting then we can ask questions like what bedding are they on, and what type of food were you offering, things like that. But I think that, like what Kenny and Herbert have done here, they've taken extra time to collect sheds 2 different times and get them sent in and follow up with me. There's a million things going on, so this has taken a while, but to make sure we get everything run twice and all of that. But there's all kinds of other questions, like, is it really better to keep your ball pythons on mice for a while? Are mice more healthy than rats, or is it just fine to get them on rats? For me, I always got my babies on rats to begin with because I didn't want mousers. But I know some people think that, from the dietary percentages in mice versus rats, the mice are less fatty and might be more healthy. There's a whole bunch of different questions that, what causes our, when we get slug out clutches, things like that. What causes, if there's a specific part of the incubation cycle where you have a heat problem that can cause more striping versus less striping. There's a lot of like little anecdotal things that through the years breeding you kind of hear. And I bet Kenny and Herbert, they've got examples they can think of too. They hear people say, oh, I think this, or I think that. I think that we have, especially if it has specifically to do with genetics or reproduction, I think we have a good setup here. If there are people that have questions like that, we would be happy to help. And I can run statistics on things and stuff too. This one was a no-brainer because it was 100% match. So don't need to run any statistics, but yeah, any of those kinds of questions, I think it would be cool that people that are willing to put in the work, and we'll be happy to help get the word out about it too.
Help you design your thesis, do a little citizen science.
That's right.
That would be cool. We love quantitative data. So cool. Well, thank you guys. This has been really, really cool. We really appreciate you guys putting in the work.
Any last thoughts or suggestions from you, Kenny?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I think I pretty much touched on everything I wanted to hit on this. Just making sure everybody understood what the process was.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any ideas of things they would like to test, I'll save a lot of sheds. So you just hit Ben up or hit me up, and we'll start working on it, because I think it's the more information we have, the more data we have, the better off we are as a community. It's amazing what shed testing has done for us just in the last few short years, but there's so much more to learn.
Yes. And speaking of that, reaching out to you, we'll have Herbert do this as well. What is the best way for someone to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm at Bomb City Balls everywhere. Morph Market and Instagram are the two best places. I'm terrible about checking Facebook, so I have messages that'll go weeks before I see them on Facebook. So it's best not to message me there. But yeah, Instagram's my preferred, unless you message me to buy, which I get a lot of messages to buy on Instagram too. But Morph Market is the best place to see everything I have for sale.
Good stuff.
All right.
And how about you, Herbert? Last thoughts, and where can people find you?
My one thought is just when people are collecting first sheds, make sure that the animal is on substrate and not paper. If you're used to using paper for hatchlings, that shed is just going to get extremely soggy. That first shed is always just like a very thin, it just turns into a pile of goo. So having it on ReptiChip and just making sure that the ReptiChip isn't like super wet, and then obviously paying attention to it night and day, and just making sure you're getting that shed as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really good advice.
And I'll kind of put on top of that, I've told people too, once you see their eyes go blue and then they go clear, then take the water bowl out that, 1 or 2 nights till they shed. That's a good idea too. Really seals the deal. Like they can't lose their shed in the water bowl because it's not even in there. And it's just for one shed, and it's just for 1 or 2 days. It shouldn't dry them out too much. But that's just like, because if I really want a shed from a baby, that's what I do. I don't know that maybe someone with more vet background would say that's too dry, but
they're pretty good at retaining water, so they should be okay. Yeah.
Makes it impossible for them to leave the whole thing in the water bowl. So I like that. But yeah, that's a great point. If you just have it on a paper towel, it's really easy for that thing to get soaked. But yeah, where's the best way to reach out to you?
Instagram and Morph Market. Same thing as Kenny. I don't really use my Facebook, so if you message me there, I'll get your message, but it might not be right away. But Instagram and Morph Market, I'm very responsive to.
And that's HB Reptiles?
Yes.
Okay.
HB with a B. There we go. Pull that up just so folks can see it. As long as there we go. So HB Reptiles on Instagram, and likewise for Bomb City Balls.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. Let us know if you're going to swap from doing second sheds only to doing first sheds, or if you're just going to still play it safe. So just let us know in the comments. And as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And go follow Kenny and Herbert on their Instagram. They're good. And they got some amazing animals on there. Honestly, they're all eye candy. So go do it. You won't regret it. All right. Later, guys. And we'll see you next time.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.